My tech bro boyfriend tried to gaslight me about cheating with my cousin, so I let his own phone destroy his life. I was staring dead at a high-definition, slow-zoom photo of my boyfriend's tongue down my cousin's throat, playing on a continuous loop right on his home screen. He was scrambling across the couch cushions, desperately clawing at my wrists to grab the phone back, screaming that Apple's new AI was hallucinating. I am a senior mobile architect. I don't just use smartphones. I build the foundational scaffolding that their operating systems run on. My daily life revolves around deciphering CoreData, mapping out background processes, and tweaking APIs that the average consumer will never even realize exist. I know exactly how an operating system thinks, how it caches memory, and how it categorizes data. Tyler, on the other hand, was a tech enthusiast. He worked in software sales and spent his commission checks on smart bulbs, biometric door locks, and every gadget that promised to optimize his life. He was the kind of guy who paid the yearly fee for an Apple developer account just so he could install the buggy beta versions of iOS months before the public release. He loved the illusion of being ahead of the curve. He loved bragging at dinner parties about features nobody else had yet. He thought it made him untouchable. Our Tuesday evening started with the kind of mundane domestic comfort that makes betrayal feel so much sharper. Rain was aggressively lashing against the living room windows of our shared townhouse. The air inside smelled of petrichor and the expensive cedar wood candle Tyler had lit to set the mood. We were curled up under a heavy wool throw blanket on the couch, drinking a cheap Pinot Noir. Tyler had just finished rebooting his iPhone. He had spent the last hour downloading the newest developer beta for iOS 18, entirely fixated on the new Apple Intelligence integration. The keynote had promised a complete overhaul of the Photos app, utilizing something they called deep learning for photo memories. He unlocked his phone with his face, the screen illuminating his smug expression. He wanted to show me a trending TikTok he'd saved earlier, something about couples who survive home renovations. He opened the app, laughed at the video, and then, driven by pure muscle memory, he swiped right to show me his customized home screen widgets. That single swipe was a fatal error. To understand what happened next, you need to understand how Tyler's brain worked. He thought he was a genius. He had systematically moved all photographic evidence of his infidelity into the native hidden folder on his iPhone. In his mind, because that specific folder was shielded behind a secondary Face ID prompt, those photos ceased to exist. He genuinely believed that the digital lock meant the files were quarantined from the rest of his phone's ecosystem. He didn't account for the neural engine. While a locked folder stops a snooping girlfriend scrolling through your camera roll, it does absolutely nothing to stop the system's root indexing service. We call it the Photos Discovery Graph in the industry. The new beta update didn't just look at file paths, it aggressively scanned every single pixel, every piece of metadata, and every geolocation tag across the entire storage drive to build what Apple was calling personalized moments. The AI doesn't care about human secrets. It only cares about data correlation. My eyes locked onto the screen. Sitting right there, perfectly formatted in a 4x4 large widget, was a beautifully curated digital scrapbook. The title, generated in a soft, elegant font by the system itself, read, "Weekend Getaway." The AI had recognized a pattern. It identified a massive frequency of collocation and FaceTime between Tyler and another person. It utilized a complex clustering algorithm to determine that these interactions were mathematically significant. I could practically see the logic executing in the background. The system calculates an affection score. It's a literal algorithm, the integral of face proximity multiplied by location privacy over a given period of time. The AI had coldly calculated that Tyler's affection score was currently highest with someone who wasn't me. The widget began to play a high-definition, Ken Burns effect slideshow. It didn't stutter. It didn't buffer. It was agonizingly smooth. The first image faded in. It was a candid shot of Tyler and my cousin, Becca. They were sitting in a bubbling, neon-lit hot tub. She was holding a glass of white wine, her head thrown back in a laugh, her wet hair plastered against her collarbone. Tyler was looking at her with a predatory, hungry gaze I hadn't seen directed at me in over a year. I felt the heat rising in my neck. My chest tightened so violently I thought my ribs were going to splinter. The oxygen in the living room evaporated. But wait, it gets infinitely worse. Because the AI didn't just group the photos, it added an automatic, acoustic dreamy sound soundtrack to the montage. The soft plucking of a digital guitar played from the iPhone speakers as the widget crossfaded to the second image. It was a slow zoom on the two of them standing at a sunset overlook. The red rock formations of Sedona loomed in the background. Tyler's hands were gripping Becca's waist, and their mouths were crushed together. 3 weeks ago, Tyler told me he was flying out for a highly mandatory corporate leadership retreat in Arizona. That same weekend, Becca had posted in the family group chat that she was going on a spiritual detox girls trip to Scottsdale. I had even liked the message. I had told her to drink plenty of water. Tyler's face went from its usual sun-kissed tan to a terrifying, translucent gray. The realization of what his phone was doing hit him like a physical blow. The widget cycled to the final, damning image, a selfie taken from a high angle. Tyler and Becca were tangled in the crisp white sheets of a hotel bed. The Arizona sun was streaming through the blinds, illuminating the sweat on his bare chest and the undeniable reality of my cousin lying next to him. "Give me the phone," Tyler choked out, his voice a pathetic, high-pitched scrape. He lunged across the couch. His knee drove hard into my thigh, spilling the Pinot Noir across the beige cushions in a dark, bloody stain. His fingers clawed at the device. He was frantic, but he was sloppy. I have spent a decade testing mobile hardware. I possessed the deeply ingrained muscle memory of a developer who handles 50 devices a day. Before his hand even closed around the chassis, I snatched the phone from the air, pulling it tight against my chest as I rolled off the couch and onto my feet. "Hannah, give it to me. Don't look at it," he hissed, scrambling to his feet. He looked like a cornered animal, his eyes wide, his hands trembling. I didn't need his passcode. The phone was already unlocked. I didn't need to dig through his app drawer to find the Photos app. I didn't need to navigate the file system. I simply tapped the widget. It expanded into full screen, the soft acoustic guitar music growing louder, filling the tense silence of our living room. "Hannah, wait. It's a deep fake. The AI is hallucinating," Tyler screamed, his voice cracking violently. "You know how buggy these betas are? It's a glitch. It's pulling random faces from the internet." I felt my vision blur with a white-hot, terrifying rage. The sheer audacity of his lie was almost impressive. He was trying to use my own career field against me, throwing buzzwords into the air hoping something would stick. "Do I look like an idiot to you, Tyler?" I whispered. My voice didn't shake. It came out cold, hollow, and absolutely lethal. "It's the generative fill," he pleaded, taking a step toward me, his hands raised in surrender. "I swear to God, Hannah." I took a picture of the sunset and the AI just inserted her. "It's a known issue. I read it on a Reddit forum." I didn't blink. I didn't argue. I didn't waste a single breath trying to dissect his pathetic, frantic gaslighting. Instead, I looked down at the screen. I hit the global share sheet icon at the bottom. A menu popped up, smooth and responsive. I selected my own contact via AirDrop. A soft chime echoed in the room as my personal phone, sitting on the coffee table, vibrated. "What are you doing? Stop. Stop pressing things," he yelled, lunging forward again. I sidestepped him effortlessly. He stumbled, catching himself on the edge of the coffee table. I picked up my own iPhone. The montage had transferred perfectly. It was a crisp, 4K resolution video file, complete with Apple's sickeningly sweet acoustic soundtrack. I opened WhatsApp. I scrolled down to a pinned chat. The title of the group was Family Reunion 2026. It had 34 participants. It included my parents. It included my sweet, elderly Aunt Susan. It included Becca's mother. And, most importantly, it included Mark, Becca's golden retriever of a fiancé, the man who was currently paying off a $30,000 wedding venue. I attached the video file. "Hannah, please," Tyler begged. He was on his knees now, the aggressive tech bro facade entirely stripped away. Real tears were welling in his eyes. "We can talk about this. I love you." It meant nothing. She came to my hotel. I tapped the text field and typed out a caption. My thumbs flew across the keyboard with clinical precision. "Check out the leadership retreat highlights Tyler and Becca forgot to share with the group. Special thanks to Apple Intelligence for the curation." I hit send. The little gray checkmark appeared. Then a second gray checkmark. Then, in rapid, synchronized succession, the checkmarks turned a bright, undeniable blue. The air in the room grew heavy, practically humming with the impending detonation. I stood there, watching the screen of my phone as the read receipts populated. Aunt Susan read it. My mother read it. Mark read it. "You didn't," Tyler whispered, staring at my screen from the floor. The color entirely drained from his lips. "Tell me you didn't just send that to Mark." I sent it to everyone, Tyler, I said, my voice eerily calm. I wouldn't want anyone to miss out on your deepfakes. The fallout was instantaneous, playing out in real time right in front of us. At the top of the chat, the indicator appeared. Aunt Linda is typing. Then, Mark is typing. Then, Mom is typing. Tyler's phone, still clutched in my left hand, began to vibrate. It was a call from his boss, who was also a participant in a separate, shared social group with some of our mutual friends. I had forwarded the video there, too. While Tyler knelt on the rug, paralyzed by the destruction of his own carefully curated life, I initiated a hard reset on our relationship. I walked past him. I went straight to the front door of the townhouse. I pulled the heavy oak door open. The rain was coming down in a torrential sheet, howling against the porch. The cold wind ripped through the entryway, scattering a pile of mail across the hardwood floor. I looked at Tyler's unlocked iPhone in my hand, the ultimate betrayal device, the piece of hardware he trusted more than me. I wound my arm back and launched the $1,000 piece of titanium straight into the darkness. It sailed through the rain and landed with a muted thud deep in the flooded, muddy grass of our front lawn. "Get out," I said. "Hannah, my phone," he shrieked, scrambling up from the floor and sprinting toward the door. "It's not waterproof if the screen is cracked. My whole life is on there." "Then you better go find it," I replied. As he crossed the threshold, entirely blinded by his panic for his device, I slammed the heavy oak door shut behind him. I threw the deadbolt. I pulled out my phone and opened the Apple Home app. Tyler had always praised me for setting up such a seamless smart home ecosystem. With 3 quick taps, I navigated to the HomeKit permissions. I found his user profile, Tyler, admin. I swiped left. I hit revoke access. I listened to the satisfying, mechanical click of the secondary smart lock engaging on the front door, permanently locking him out of my house, out of my network, and out of my life. I walked back to the living room, picked up my wine glass, and sat back down on the couch. My phone screen was lighting up like a Christmas tree. Within the hour, Becca had been completely removed from the family WhatsApp group by her own mother. Mark had called me, his voice trembling as he asked if I had any more proof, to which I gently explained the exact mechanics of iOS background indexing, assuring him that machines do not lie. Tyler spent the night sleeping in his leased Tesla out in the driveway, soaked to the bone from digging through the mud to find a phone that was currently receiving a barrage of pure hatred from every person he had ever claimed to care about. By the time the sun came up, he had 42 missed calls, no fiancé for his side piece, and absolutely nowhere to live. He thought he could manipulate the code of our relationship the same way he manipulated everything else. He thought he could hide his dirt in a locked folder and smile in my face. But technology has a funny way of bringing the truth to the surface, and an algorithm never forgets. Am I the monster here for burning his life to the ground without a second thought? Or did he get exactly what he deserved for trusting a machine over the woman sleeping next to him?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.